Welcome back to another episode of Twisted Metal Companion. I'm Peter. You guys, we have another interview. Many of you have been asking, reaching out, if I would be able to get this gentleman on. Today, my guest is Richard De Klerk, who plays Mr. Grimm. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. We've been in talks for a while. Life happens, family happens, and so we finally was able to pick a day and time. But thank you for fitting me in your busy schedule.
Yeah,
Uh,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I've been asking people, what has the reception been like for you to appear on Twisted Metal from friends, family, people that you worked with in the past?
I feel like the reception has been the same as my reception, which is just great excitement and feeling really humbled to be a part of this universe. It's so fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you've done quite a bit of stuff, all different types of films. So you really spread your wings when it comes to acting. I watched a couple of your movies. But before we get into some of that, just you've traveled quite a bit. You are from Vancouver, BC, but you've grew up in Holland, was that? I have
Yeah.
different. Yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so what took you over there? And I know you also played soccer. So,
I did.
if you could
Yeah.
talk about a young Richard.
Yeah. Yeah. So my dad is a Dutch immigrant. He immigrated to Canada in the 60s. And he met a woman from Vancouver, BC, and then I and my sister were born, and we ended up going to Holland for like 5 years. So I lived in Holland for 5 years, and I went to an American school, so I kind of had to learn my Dutch later in life from my 95-year-old Dutch grandmother. So my Dutch was very almost anglicized. We called it Nengels, which is like Nederlands and Engels. So yeah.
And there, you spoke other languages as well, right? Russian, Spanish. Like, how did you
Yeah, I
learn?
Well, so I'm not afraid to look like a moron in different languages. So I feel like that's kind of the crux of trying to speak another language because, at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So most of the time, our intentions are kind of clear in body language. So like I'm I'm fluent in Dutch, but I sound kind of like an idiot because my vocabulary is not very good. But that also translates into my sentence structure in English sometimes. My wife makes fun of me for some of my sentences being kind of reversed. I speak a little bit of Spanish. I speak a little bit of French because I grew up in Canada, and a little bit of Russian just because I thought it was a really cool language. Farsi because I played soccer with a whole bunch of guys from Iran. Yeah, I'm kind of unafraid when it comes to languages.
That's incredible. I took 4 years in French, and I don't think I remember enough to get by at all. Like I was
Seriously?
joking. Yeah, I was joking with Tiana. We were like, "Oh, oui." It's like, yeah, that sounds French. We were having fun with it, but yeah, I took French because my dad he went to university or something in France. I believe that's where he met my mother before they came to the US, but he was fluent, and I thought it might be kind of cool and maybe it'd be some sort of bond, but I'd never picked up enough. And so, but yeah, it's so funny because I remember when Back to the Future came out on DVD, and they were giving you options to watch the film in dubbed in other languages. I put it in French, just to see if I can pick up anything. And yeah, no go. So
Seriously.
yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to kind of revisit, like to just throw on a movie I know well that's American made and change the language to French to see if I can pick up any of it. But 4 years, like that's not nothing, right? I mean, but it's been a long time, you know.
That's not nothing. I bet you that if you go somewhere and you're actually just immersed in it and you kind of have to speak it, a lot of it will come back. Like I
Right.
remember working on a movie in Montreal and the whole crew spoke French. I had like elementary school level French. And the first day on set, I love to listen to people planning shots and figuring out what we're going to do, what order and everything. And I was completely lost. And by the end of working on that film, I was blocking my scenes in French with the crew. So like
Wow.
it's just and also like leaning into the silliness of me being bad at it, right?
Yeah.
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 That's awesome. Yeah, unafraid to look. Well, how did you phrase it?
Unafraid to look like a moron.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Just, yeah, just do it, You'll
Yeah.
learn how to correct yourself along the way.
Yeah.
Um, so you played soccer and you also like started getting into acting like your earlier credits were I mean you were like in high school and so did
Elementary
you
school.
elementary school even okay
Yeah.
so where did that come from like you mentioned your father was well, I'm sorry, did you say a Dutch immigrant or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so yeah, what were your early inspirations into
Ah,
acting?
it's funny because, as I've become a dad and I watch my kids playing and everything, I kind of unlock some of the history of my own life at that point. And the acting bug was always present. Like,
Mm,
I would always play on the playground and be like a brooding villain or superhero or whatever. But then having that exposure to so many different cultures living in Holland, being in an international school with so many people, so many different accents, so many different interesting people, it just it made me want to tell stories that are human and find the humanity in any kind of character. And we moved back to Canada, and obviously Vancouver is a production hub. And I started I started in grade 6, and I booked my very first audition, which was a US national commercial, which was like, oh man, this is great. Like I booked my first audition. It's going to be so easy. And as a kid, you're like having to learn about those sort of in-betweens with the jobs and grow into adulthood on, a set periodically. I always stayed in school, so I just sort of caught up with school and had tutors and stuff like that. But yeah, I started from a young age because I wanted to. And growing up in Europe for part of my life, I was exposed to a lot of British comedy. So like I was a huge fan of Are You Being Served? That show is hilarious to this day. Blackadder, like I used to do all the impersonations of all these shows. Like I had them completely memorized. And then moving back to North America, I got heavy into Star Trek, The Next
mm.
Generation, Star Trek DS9, Law and Order. Like it was just, I used to have TV shows on in the background while I was doing my homework.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mr. Rice's Secret, I
Yeah.
couldn't find anywhere to stream it, but that's a movie that features David Bowie. What can you share about that project?
So the first film I ever did. That was the first film I ever did. And it was like I grew up on Labyrinth. So I was very excited to work with David Bowie. And he was a very kind and gentle man and such a good actor. I don't know where to find that movie. It's been so long, but it was beautiful. It was a really beautiful movie.
Another beautiful movie that you did, Beijing, New York. And I didn't know what to expect, but was that Mandarin? I'm forgetting the
It's Mandarin, yeah.
yeah. And so when that came out, I go, Am I going to hear Richard speak Mandarin?" And so you play like an American artist, but I almost finished it. I think I still have like 12 minutes left, but beautiful movie, dramatic. You're one of the romantic leads, love triangle. Beautifully shot. I love a slow burn, but if you can talk about that project, you also I believe you executive produced it.
I did, yeah. So that film, the reason that it was so beautifully shot is that Chris Doyle did the portion in China.
Mm.
And his protege, Rain Lee, did the DP work and the directing in New York. So it was a really interesting project to be a part of because, well, number one, bridging two cultures in an interesting way, working in New York, and number two, I ended up So the way that they do it a lot of the time with movies in China is that they'll ADR the entire thing.
Mm.
So I actually was in Beijing for a week, ADRing almost the entire movie, which
Wow.
at the time was like, oh my God. But I like ADR. In hindsight, it was also a little bit of practice for Twisted Metal to be able
Mm.
to ADR.
Right, right. The other one that I watched, A Lone Wolf,
Oh
where
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
watched that. A little, it's kind of a little bit of like Rear Window.
Yeah.
And your character Jonathan reminds me of Norman Bates. Just a
Yeah.
look,
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
There's a line where what was the character's name? It's Town. Is that
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
yeah, she calls him like a psycho, and I was like, oh, is that deliberate? So it kind of made me think because of the look and the thing with
Yeah.
his mom. But yeah, if you could talk about that project as
Yeah,
well.
it was a really interesting film because it actually turned out to be quite timely. We shot it right before COVID and it was
Mm.
released around COVID. So, people sort of being agoraphobes and not leaving their house, which is what Jonathan was, it was quite timely. So, also the woman who plays Town is my wife.
I just found out this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing about that film was I met Charles Erlinger, the director of that film,
Mm.
through his wife when I was buying my engagement ring to propose to my wife.
Uh,
So it was an insane experience to, months after buying this engagement ring, have contact from this director being like, "Hey, my wife told me that you were an actor." And I thought, okay, well, lots of people in LA are actors, but then I watched your stuff and I'd really love for you to be in this movie. And so I read the script and I was like, this is a really interesting character. I have somebody who would be really good for Town. So we ended up doing that film and we shot it in 3 weeks. We had Baz Edouin, who was the DP on Thor,
mm.
the one with Christian Bale, Love and Thunder. Is that what that one is?
Yeah, I believe that's the third one. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was the
What?
DP on that. But just like a really talented crew working in LA, and it was just a dream to shoot that film. It was really fun.
Yeah, there's the one part I don't want to give too much away if people want to seek it out. It's on Tubi. I believe that's how I watched it. And there's a part that frightened me because of the scene, but you get some plastic wrapped around your head.
I
Uh
do.
th- that was sounds like that was you. But
It was.
yeah, if you can kind of talk about that sequence, it's I was trying to look for anywhere. It's like how are you committed to this bit just because it just seems so dangerous to perform.
I mean, at the end of the day, there's so many people that if I'm tapping out, then he knows to take that bag off my head. It was James Oliver was the actor who put it over my head, and it was a bag, and I did breathe in because it looked really good. But it was a little bit scary, but it was okay. Like that, you use that in the scene.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I'd say, almost like I mean a spiritual predecessor to Twisted Metal, maybe. I don't know.
A little bit.
But yeah, not too of a dissimilar of a character. Somebody that's an outsider, in this case, an insider, because he hadn't left his house in like 2 years. So yeah, it's again, I love a slow burn, so I really quite enjoyed that film.
Awesome.
The Beijing, New York, New York, or not New York, New York, Beijing, New York. You also rode a motorcycle. So is that something that you already had experience with? No.
No,
Was that your first movie? Where you rode?
I didn't write in that movie.
Oh,
Dude, the entire season. Okay,
uh,
so at the beginning of booking the role on Twisted Metal, I took the CHP course to learn how to ride a motorcycle, right? Could have got my license, ran out of time to get my license because I was traveling back and forth to Toronto. Um, I know how to ride a motorcycle. I had 5 motorcycle doubles on Twisted Metal.
wow.
The only thing
So
that I did on Twisted Metal on the motorcycle was getting on and off it and sitting there at the beginning in episode,
five?
yeah, I think 5. where I was sitting on the motorcycle revving the engine. That's
Right.
all I did motorcycle wise. I had amazing motorcycle doubles. They were
Yeah.
incredible. Liam Richards, one of
Um,
the doubles, also popped a wheelie that I don't think made the cut, but like that's a heavy bike. That is a
yeah.
very, very heavy bike. Yeah.
So let's get into Twisted Metal. If you can share, like, did you have any connections or history with the film beforehand? And also because the character is from the games, like what have some of your interactions with like the fans on social media and your portrayal, like what have they been saying about it?
I mean, the fans are incredible. I'm such a fan of the world. I'm such a fan of the show. Season one was a riot. I was brought to tears and cackled many, many times watching season one. I'm just a huge fan of the show, and I think that MJ and all the writers have just stayed true to the spirit of the game. It's such a rich IP, which is almost shocking when you think about it, right? Because it's like they have stayed true to the spirit of the game while also kind of retooling it in places. It's such an interesting project to be a part of that way. I had no real connection other than having played the game as a kid. I played Twisted Metal 1. Um, but when I got the audition, I it really spoke to me. The line, there are thousands of souls within and we never get tired was like, okay, here we go. I see what this is, and I'm going to be unafraid to look like an idiot. And I'm gonna really, really go for it. But in terms of reception and everything, I think the fans have been really warm and really kind, and it's deeply humbling to be a part of it. I'm just so proud to be a part of this world and know all of these people that made this show. They're just incredible, each and every one of them.
Yeah, I'm getting chills from hearing you say that. I love Grimm. Uh, Vermin calls him Grimmy, so I think we should normalize that. That's a fun one. So what were they looking for in the character of the Grimm? Like I was still trying to figure out with all the voices early on, and so I'm assuming that the voices are like his victims, right? And so yeah, if you could talk about like what the auditioning process and what any descriptions if there were any.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Well, the description was that he was a guy who kills people and sucks their souls and talks in their voices.
Mm,
The audition sides were really exciting to me because in the description in the lines, it would say like female voice, child, old man. And that to me was like an opportunity to really differentiate between these guys while still keeping the core of the host Grimmy, right?
yeah.
Um, and so I just kind of took it and ran with it. And I switched up the order in the audition and the edit when I sent it in because I wanted to start really bold. And it was a scene that was written between Joe and I and Will. Um, and it was different than in the season, but it had the same line, which was there are thousands of souls within and we never get tired. And it just really excited me. I remember saying to my wife, can you take the kids to the park because I want to just sit in the mirror and say these lines and figure out where I want to put these voices. And it was like the truest sense of like, I gotta fucking do this, you know?
Mm.
So yeah.
So in this script, the scripts, uh, would it indicate like what voice he'd use at certain times, or was that left to you?
It in the script it was written. It was
Mm,
there. One of the things that's really cool about the process of shooting the show is that MJ is there, Sean's there, Sean Diston, Grant
mhm.
DeKernian. They're all there. And so being on set, we could have conversations about sort of shifting the order of where different voices went. And it was quite it's quite rare for a showrunner or a bunch of writers to be on set all the time, but they were.
Mm.
Um, so the process was it was really rich and really layered for me. It was really exciting. And another thing that I really loved about being on that set was improv was really welcome. That's really exciting. That's to keep something so fresh and um, spontaneous is very fun.
Did you have any examples for Grimm? Any lines that you improvised?
I'll share one story actually. It was my first day, which was the graveyard scene.
Yeah.
So Paul Thomas, who plays Byron, my second victim in that scene, he had an incredibly rich voice. It was not scripted that I would speak in his voice. I think I like it
Mm.
already. It was not scripted. Like it was, I like that MJ and Sean walked up to me in between takes, in between setups, and were like, "Hey, can you do the voice of the guy that you just killed?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool. All right, let's do it." So we did it, and it made the cut, and it turned out to be a really fascinating moment for me because he's inhabiting my body with his soul. And there's still that underlying irritation that he was just about to dig up my old man. It became this really, really fascinating, rich moment that was really fun to play because there was still a lot of darkness, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I would say. And that's where we got Grimm's kind of first look, right? Like we know about the iconic helmet with the skull, but the blood, like we get the explanation for the blood, where the first
From
victim, yeah,
season
he just,
one.
yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah,
I know. I was like, because like when we did like the wardrobe fitting and everything, and the skull, the helmet was white. I was like, what about in season one when they show that and it's red? And then and then on
right.
my first day shooting, I'm smashing this helmet onto the ground with blood. It
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
that was a, yeah, it was really incredible giving us like the reason for the blood. So you talked about like fitting. What can you share about like the wardrobe that like of the details that we don't get to really see on screen because like everything's so fast. But Liz Vastola, costume designer, she mentioned like the I don't know if they're like ribbons or is it something where Grimm takes a piece of the clothing of his victims or something or something on his jacket? She said something. I don't know if it was a video clip. I'm kind of mixing up all the different contents I've heard or read,
I
but
don't remember what the streamers on the side were,
streamers.
but I want to
Yeah.
tell you something really cool about Liz. Beijing, New York. She was the costume designer.
No kidding. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I've known her for over 10 years. And
Yeah.
when Angela, the cutter on the show, was saying I was at my Airbnb in Toronto, and she said, "Yeah, Liz, our costume designer, will come." And I was like, "Liz." And for some reason, in my head right away, I was like, "Is this Liz Festola?" And like I looked up season one, I'm like, Liz Festola was the costume designer. Oh my God. And so sure enough, she came to the tour, and we were just really, really excited. And she is such a collaborative costume designer that she asks for the actor's input in so many of the details, which is it's exhilarating to, craft that. Um, she just did an incredible job. Like the costume was, the gray jumpsuit, the zipper that went up the back, and then it had sort of Velcro pieces where I had the leather straitjacket that went over top of it, buckles and everything. And then it was the jacket. It was Doc Marten boots with a little custom leather thing that went over my calf and the gloves. Like I got to choose the gloves. It was such an incredible experience. And I feel like that, the detailing on the back, like the spine and everything. I know that MJ's talked about that before. Like Liz just she just killed it. She killed it the whole season.
It's one of my favorite looks, just because it's so detailed, and I remember like some of the early images that came out. It kind of reminded me of like Edward Scissorhands a little bit. I
Yeah.
try to do like a side by side with all the belts and the straps and all of that. Um, can you share like in your mind like the history with Grimm and Sweet Tooth? There's a few things that you can pick up from the dialogue. Sweet Tooth mentions that he threw away the key, so it sounds like Grimm showed up at some point to Blackfield and kind of became like the star killer or whatever,
Like
taking
king
like Sweet
shit of
Tooth.
fuck mountain.
Yeah.
Like king shit of fuck mountain. It was literally,
Yeah.
honestly, when Joe and I did that scene, both of us were like, yeah, I mean, I think it's alluded to. Um, we have a rivalry. We don't like each other. Um, Sweet Tooth wants to be the center of attention, and it's only logical to assume that he wasn't for a time.
Yeah.
Where it kind of gets as like a viewer of the show for me, kind of funny, and you know, taking that backstory in watching it makes me think about all kinds of just what did that look like, right? What
Yeah.
did that look like? Because Joe is such an incredible actor. I can only imagine his irritation behind that mask.
Oh,
You
sure.
know,
Like I'm thinking about like the times where you guys have to do stare offs. Like, and I'm just thinking like, once they yell cut, there's got to be a bunch of laughs. It just looks like a lot of fun. Um, oh God, there was a point I was going, well, maybe not a point, but I think I was going to ask something. The Sweet Tooth and Grimm. What was I asking about the backstory between those two? Um, let's talk about like kind of like your first day on set. Who were some of the first people you met? Because we don't. Well, he gets introduced in episode 2. Let's talk about that introduction actually. Um, Joe, I believe I feel like it was during San Diego Comic-Con weekend. Because so many interviews were coming out that weekend, and I believe Joe was talking about Sweet Tooth having like a new rival, and he didn't say who it was, just kind of teased it. And I remember watching episode 2 and it took us back to Blackfield. I'm like, oh, what is this? Is this a flashback? I was thinking that we were going to see something with Sweet Tooth. And then when we see Grimm, I put two and two together. I was like, oh shit, they spent time together at Blackfield. Grimm's his rival. And I'm getting chills again thinking about it.
cool.
Um,
That's a
it was
really
such
rich
a
experience.
yeah, that's a cool like once you make that connection, I think as a fan, like you're just excited to see like what's gonna happen between these two iconic characters from the game. Did you weren't at San Diego Comic-Con, were you?
No.
Okay, I was gonna ask if you had seen that reaction amongst the crowd, because
No, I
they
heard about it. I heard about it from my castmates, and I wish I was there because it
what
would have
did they
been
say?
epic. They just said that it was epic. Like people were really, really excited at the end of episode 2 at the introduction.
Yeah.
I mean, that scene was really cool. Like, you know, Kirsten, my makeup artist on Twisted Metal, she and I really worked hard on figuring out what the look was for
Mhm.
him. Like we wanted him to be kind of hollowed out and everything. But in that scene in particular, we had a couple of different beard looks that we were trying out. One of them was a little too thick because I said, like just imagine this guy's like locked up for 20 years in solitary. Like he'd be plucking at these hairs. Like so maybe he should be a bit sort of whiskery. And that's how we had that horrendous beard that I had was just a bunch of like single hairs glued onto my face. We painted my feet. We didn't see it in the thing, but we painted my feet super dirty. And that scene I actually shot in block 3.
Okay.
So I shot the graveyard and the axle stuff in block 2. And then block 3, I was working with Phil. And we had that scene. It was the first scene when I came back. Um, and it was a really, really cool scene to shoot. The cell that they had done was really cool. Um, yeah, it's just such a cool show, you know.
Yeah, the buildup is fully earned. Like we didn't just cut to Blackfield and just like I think there's like a slow like moving shot down the hallway, to kind of build that atmosphere. So it's really really well done.
Yeah.
You mentioned you had like five like stunt performers, like also be Grimm. Did you have to do any sort of like I don't know the terms, but like any sort of like body scans so that way they
Yeah.
can, yeah. So if you
Yeah.
could talk about that process, like I haven't been able to ask like Michael James Shaw, who's also probably gone through the same process. But if you could talk
Yeah.
about, yeah, about that.
Yeah, the body scan process, I'd never done it before, but I did it on my first day of work. And they have like this little truck with hundreds of cameras around you. This little door with a bunch of cameras. It's all lit around you. And they take a picture and they scan your whole face, your whole body. And that's basically it. Like you just stand there. I did it with the helmet on, I did it with the helmet off. Um, but yeah, so in terms of stunts on the show, a lot of the motorcycle stuff was doubles, and they were incredible. Especially watching these guys do what they were doing as somebody who had just learned how to motorcycle. Like I remember asking Braden, one of my doubles, so wait, okay, so you did the scythe and like, okay, so what about the clutch? And he's like I just did it. I can't remember what the term is, but it's like I was like, you holy shit, dude. Like the clutch is hard for me to figure out. Like what like I'm kind of getting the hang of it, but throttle, loosen the clutch, all that kind of stuff. It's unreal what these guys can do. So yeah, it was a really fascinating, fascinating thing to see. Like just
Yeah,
the level of skill. But a lot of the physical stuff um in the first half of the season I did. So like all the stuff in the graveyard is me. It was very, very, man, I got this fly coming around me. I was very, very sore for days afterwards because I am older now.
right.
Yeah.
I'm older than you. Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. If the internet is correct anyway with your we're both Aries. I did catch that.
When's your
Uh
birthday?
March 24th.
Oh, wow. In between my
Yeah.
dad and me.
My dad's
He's
is March 20th.
my dad's March 21st.
Oh, and my brother's
Wow.
March 26th,
Wow.
and my daughter's March 19th. So yeah, we have a few birthdays like all within a week.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Love it.
It wasn't planned, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah. You mentioned physical. Can you talk about the lunchroom scene where I don't know how many times I watched that episode before I caught on before the actual altercation between Grimm and Sweet Tooth that they were staring each other down because they don't really focus on it. You see Sweet Tooth, but there's points where you look at Calypso and you're just in the shot and you're just like staring and so like if somebody just looks over at Grimm, they're not really thinking anything of it. But when you start seeing like, the where Sweet Tooth is seated, you're like, oh shit, they're like staring at each other.
Dude,
So
Sweet
yeah.
Tooth, Sweet Tooth is Grimm's North Star. Like, you know, and what I heard and saw could have been a reverse, a medium shot and a reverse and a close up and we had an entire movie sitting there.
Yeah.
Like Joe was sitting there shaking, grabbing the table with his gloves creaking, the leather was creaking. And I'm just sitting there staring at him. And you see his eyes like twitching underneath the mask. It was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. And what was scripted was that I was supposed to say something to him to set him off. But I think what the editors did that was brilliant and made it 10 times more funny was that as soon as Catherine Frostbite is through that door, he's up. It's a really good payoff.
So originally there was a line said and they removed the line. Oh, I like that. No, I like that much better that the tension's already building up just physically. Like you
Oh,
don't even
it's
need to see.
super
Yeah,
smart. It's super
yeah.
smart. Yeah,
It's almost like a real lunchroom fight, like
a hundred
it,
percent.
it can go 0 to 60 just like that with kids,
A hundred percent.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I really like that. That's one of my favorite moments. Well, you mentioned Catherine, just that line delivery of it's just a door,
Oh,
you
dude.
know, go
It
inside and
so Mitch, Steph, and I were all sitting there watching her coverage for that, and
yeah,
on that take, all of us went like she Catherine's such a good actor. Uh it was so funny. She just made that character so interesting
yeah,
and
yeah.
funny. Yeah. Yeah.
It was so great. Just really understated, and then escalation over here, fight. So yeah, really, really wild. I'm trying to think after six, then we had episode seven, which was no, that was the no, no, six was the lunchroom. Episode seven. I wish I had the titles up.
Episode 7, I think, was Fly My Little Penguin, Bums Over Baghdad.
Oh, right. Okay, okay. So that's
Eight was
the
the Crash Test Dummies.
right.
9 was
So
Prom.
So seven, we didn't have too much of Grimm, right? I know. There's like when they were revealing wishes, Grimm is there. I don't think we have too
No,
much.
it's just me cheating.
Yeah, right.
It's not cheating.
Okay. So I
It's fair
actually I
game.
don't.
It's fair
Did you?
game. Fair game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you
fair game.
see my post on that?
Of course I did. Yeah, yeah, it's
I
fair
was
game.
uh,
Fair game.
I was just trying to get reactions from people to see what they were saying.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, because I still need to go in and do the math because I believe Calypso says there's 8 passes, and then I need to go back and figure out all the contenders and stuff because I know we lost Chucky Floop in that episode as well. So anyway, that's for the episode
Deacon and
breakdowns.
Benjamin, Chucky
Yeah.
Floop.
Oh right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who else?
So I that
Benjamin.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that pairing. I love the pairing, especially when they're arriving after the that preliminary round. Where they have the baby or the preacher sleeping in the back, like that whole
We're
deal.
gonna keep going. We're gonna
Yeah,
do the
you were
loop. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh,
Every parent watching that is like, oh yeah, yeah, I've done that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I see you. I hear you. I feel you. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, why did Grimm go fishing in the episode? If you could talk about that. So he misses out on some of the Apocalypse 9 killing and stuff like that. So I thought that
Yeah.
was kind of
He
an interesting choice.
he gets locked out.
Yeah.
There's yeah. It's I mean, like I think fishing is a thing that brings peace and tranquility, and for such a weirdo like Grimm, doing it at night would bring even more peace and tranquility. I
I
think
like
it
that.
yeah, and then coming to the door and having the various guys try it out was just like a really fun scene to shoot. And
Yeah.
yeah, I remember MJ was telling me about that scene about how funny he thought it was, and I was like, this is super funny. And I wanted to do him honor by that and make sure that it was good. So it was very, very silly to shoot. And
I
Ian,
thought,
Ian, the
yeah.
director, was like, it was great because we did this one take and he had this great note where he was like, "Hey, have you thought about like maybe like talking to the fish?" It's like, "Yeah, dude, that's great. I love that. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic idea." So yeah,
Yeah. It sounds like super collaborative. Everyone's kind of, giving pitches on what to do. I love it. And it's like, yeah, the best the best suggestion wins, and it's all funny for it. Yeah, because we saw Grimm like early on in the gymnasium, quiet just there and stuff like that, and he's already kind of working on, like, I guess, building a bit of a fishing rod. Um, let's see. Now we saw that he gets locked out. I was talking to another a listener of mine, and we're like, so did he just sit out there outside the door waiting for it to get unlocked the next morning still
missed out.
took a nap, maybe took that fish right there.
Yeah.
Um, so a lot of people's favorite moments, especially mine, came from episode 9, the prom sequence. If you could talk about your fit, I thought it looks great, and we see little straps. Is that also from the straight jacket? Is that I feel there's like straps hanging
Straight jacket
from
influence for sure.
yeah,
Straight jacket
yeah,
influence for sure. Yeah, I mean, what an exciting time of the season. Everybody gets to change into a amazing outfit for prom. Like it was such a fun episode to shoot. Uh, Took a long time. It was a grind of an episode too. Like, but the fits that everybody had, I mean, everybody just looked so great, you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone did look great. You mentioned grind. There was some grinding, vermin, which we find out through Grimmy, that her name is Vanessa,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so there's this whole other thing that happened that we don't even know about. At some point, they got really acquainted, and they get on a level where she's calling him Grimmy, the Vanessa thing. So yeah, could you talk about that relationship between the two and their little I guess we can call it their meet cute. It's when Vermin comes over, to talk to Grim, who's sitting by his lonesome.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they are probably the two weirdest ones in the whole class. Look at that. I'm talking about like it's high school. It
Right,
that
right.
episode is like high school.
Or they're
Yeah,
normal.
I think
Everyone else
that
is weird.
yeah, well, sure. I mean, I feel like they're kind of drawn to each other in that way. They're both outsiders. It's fun to imagine how they got acquainted. I imagine that it probably happened on the bleachers before he asks her to dance. Um, but yeah, I mean, what a what an episode to make everybody care about these characters even more before chaos and death, you know?
It's
Yeah.
yeah, that episode ends in at least one. Um, if you can share the Grimm's dance sequence where he, steals Sweet Tooth thunder yet again. Sweet Tooth tried to get a circle going on earlier, didn't work. Grim
Like
not
Carlton
asking for
Banks.
yeah,
Like I'm gonna dance
yeah, like
like
Arthur.
Carlton
Yeah,
Banks. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Don't
dude,
forget that.
so
But
good.
yeah. So I heard you really wanted to commit and get down the choreography of Grim dancing.
Well, the choreography of Lisa and I was really rehearsed. I asked for a bunch of rehearsals to make sure that I would be able to just kind of go nuts. And I was soaked after every take. I split my pants on one take. Uh, Steph told me to chill out. I am a dad. I'm not 20. You're gonna hurt yourself. Um, this is something that I have not shared before, but at the end of the season, did have a hernia, which I have since had repaired. So maybe it's because of what Steph said. I don't know, but uh, it was it was it was really exciting. I expected it to be really scary to have to dance like that, but it was actually really exciting and really fun. And it was just it was just really, really fun.
Yeah, it really was. And then once John starts like, the chant, go Grim, go I'm into it, like it's
Yeah,
such a feel good episode. Yeah.
Mackie had this great idea. He was like, at one point, like we need to switch. So we all switched and we started dancing together. And then that's when he and I are like dancing like this. And he's just such a brilliant leader that way, like just so spontaneous and smart when it comes to how to get from point A to point B, because we all knew that Grimm had to get into a dance circle. We just kind of had to feel that out in the rehearsal and the blocking of it as to how we got there. I think one of my favorite lines in the whole season from Sweet Tooth, and he's got some great ones, was how that what the fuck happens? What the fuck? It's supposed to be my dance
Right,
circle.
right.
It's like
It's,
I
uh,
watched this show as a fan. Like
yeah.
I enjoy this show so much. It's
Yeah.
wild to be a part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure Joe's was just as amazing. His delivery was probably just as amazing as Will's, but yeah, that's a really great moment too. Because like again, I love to watch in the background, so that's why I watch episodes over and over and over because there's just so many things, and you see Sweet Tooth like over by the table, just getting down by his bad self, like quite literally. And then so like when Grimm, draws all these attention, you cut to Sweet Tooth who's like in the middle of dancing, it's just like, wait.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, yeah, so well done. So well done.
yeah, yeah.
So we have a little she's all that moment, and we have the scene between Vermin and Grimm to be interrupted by Sweet Tooth, and I love this too because after the first time I watched the episode and Grimm lights Harold on fire, I'm just like, oh, because I was trying to figure it out, right? So the second time I watched it, I go, oh, Sweet Tooth had Harold with him when
Yeah,
when
he
he
was
ruined
holding him.
his,
He was holding
yeah.
him. Yeah.
So yeah, so that's set up. So if you could talk about like, yeah, the burning Harold, and if you got any any hate from the fans for doing that to Sweet Tooth, because I
I
know,
think maybe I got a little bit of tongue-in-cheek hate, but I like
yeah.
it's I mean the process of that was pretty crazy because I had to light a paper bag on fire and hold it while laughing like an insane person who's just so incredibly hurt. Uh I had a bunch of I mean my whole outfit was fireproofed. And Logan Holiday, one of our stunt coordinators, was laying ready to wrap my hand in a towel to douse the flames. The one X factor that I hadn't really anticipated until we started shooting was that Joe was going to land at my feet. So I had to figure out where I was going to put that bag to not light his head on fire for real. And right, like every time the laughing and then the passing out and everything, I had to kind of like move the bag as I was falling out of frame. And that was a real challenge, especially because if you're taking time in the setup while we're rolling, while we're going to go hot on this stunt, the lighter fluid also like dries up. So some takes would take forever for the bag to light, and some takes would just go like that. So it was a challenge and I think a fitting emotional payoff for such a heinous crime by Sweet Tooth.
Yeah.
You know? Like, what do you got to do that for? Like, just
Yeah.
let him, he's tender for a second. Like, chill
Yeah.
out, man. Yeah.
I know. It's been a minute, for
Wait a
Grim,
minute.
for
Yeah,
for
yeah,
Grimmy.
yeah.
Um, the trial. So Grim does have to go to trial for the killing Harold. I spoke with Jono, and I was trying to figure out like, well, was that really his butt and all of that. So what do you remember filming that sequence? I don't know if it took more than a day or whatever, but just the because Jono even mentioned how like anytime like they like Anthony Kerrigan would pull down his pants, he would just start laughing because I guess they had to get like the look of like his butt jiggling too or something.
Well, I mean, there was one take where Anthony pulled his pants down so fast that his ass jiggled. And like we were all we were all still in the scene. And we were all like, was that sort of like telepathic connection between me, Taj, and Mitch and Anthony Kerrigan. And Jono broke the tension because he was face down on that gurney and started going, and so it started shaking more. So, we ruined one take like that. Uh, what a hilarious scene. A lot of that scene also, like the whole thing leading in with Mitch is improv. Like it's incredible. He's telling the story of what happened and everything. And I mean, that series of scenes, we basically shot that series of scenes in one day. We block shot the entire sequence from that episode. And it was really exhilarating creatively.
Yeah.
to be in that. Like block shooting is really challenging because especially if you're piecing off the different scenes from different camera angles, you're doing the first chunk of that episode. You're doing the second chunk of that episode. You're doing the third chunk of that episode. You're doing the fourth chunk of that episode. And then you change the camera positions and all the lighting, and then you do it again. And so that was the whole day. And it was really, really exhilarating creatively to do it that way. It was
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a funny scene for sure. Um, Now what about the fight scene between Grim and Sweet Tooth? I found out from I believe it's Emily, the prop master.
Yeah.
Yeah, she mentioned that Grimm's helmet is a breakaway, and so I thought that was a visual effect. So if you could talk about the
It was
fighting,
real. It was real. It's incredible. I mean, Emily just killed it, like with the scythe and everything too. Like, I mean, all the stuff that she did this season was just incredible. The helmet was breakaway. The helmet in the graveyard was foam.
hmm,
We don't want to use like a real helmet to smash by somebody's face. I'm going off, I'm going right here on the guy, but you still don't like you want something that will not hurt if you hit. So like the helmet for when Sweet Tooth did the punch and it breaks away and everything, I had to kind of like just do, you sell it when you're getting hit in a fight scene anyways, but I had to do it a little bit more to snap my head so that the helmet
hmm,
would actually fall apart. And there was one image that Peef, the stills photographer on the show, took that I posted on my Instagram that showed the moment of Sweet Tooth hitting and the helmet breaking away. It was incredible. Like
yeah,
that whole sequence was really cool. That whole portion of the season was a real bear to
yeah.
shoot. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the way Grim goes too. I was just like, "Oh, damn, that's it." Like it was a little, it's quick, you blink and you miss it and then being run over by roadkill.
Yeah, yeah, you don't
Yeah.
miss it after that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we a lot of people, would love to see Grim back. I would love to see Grim back. I don't know how they're gonna tackle like, all the other. Yeah, I mean with the season three, if we get a season three, but just I can't see like them like just getting new characters and new actors. Like I would love to see like most of you guys back, and I just think it'd be funny if it's like incarnations. Maybe Mr. Grimm comes back and he's his dad, or something like this spiritual
Yeah.
version of it.
Yeah.
Richard, as we get ready to wrap up here, thank you so much for your time and sharing your stories. There was something that I did see. I think I closed it up, but back in like 2010, you were asked to return to Toronto for something called like it had to do with mental health. Like yeah, it was like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Rendezvous with
what
Madness. That's right.
that's the one. Yeah, yeah. If you
Yeah.
can,
Yeah, so it was the film that was going to be a part of that festival was about three recovering drug addicts whose day starts to repeat. And it was with Dustin Milligan and Amanda Crew and directed by Carl Basai. And my character, Weeks, was the character that is like, there are consequences if you do things, even if your day repeats and it resets, there are consequences to your psyche. And so Rendezvous with Madness wanted to screen the film and have a Q&A about it. And it was really cool. I think that's part of the reason that, being an actor is a really cool thing is that you get to shine a light in a different way onto certain issues like that. You know,
yeah,
God knows
yeah.
maybe Grimm needs some mental health. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a really cool thing.
The repeaters, that's one that I want to look up too. Yeah, and check out those. Just you have so many listed. I was just trying to find whatever I could in the amount of time to prepare. And we'll end it with this. Is there anything that you're able to share that you might be working on? Anything that people can keep an eye out for if they wanted to see more of you?
I mean, right now I'm in between, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes. Right now I'm focusing on being a dad and just auditioning and seeing what comes. Yeah.